firefighter has been hurt trying to put out this fire. The business, again, called Avedas Specialty Services. It's a wastewater treatment facility and used oil recycler. Sky 4 was over the area all morning long. We're still trying to figure out exactly what caused this fire, how much damage is there, and if there are any more injuries. Although workers there told me while I was on scene that nobody that they know of was hurt. In fact, all those workers getting out of the building as the fire started. We're going to keep an eye on that throughout the next 2 hours here on Local 4 Live. Local 4 investigator Karen Drew is with us right now. Karen, you've been looking into violations that the state has listed on their website, which is public. Everybody can look at it and take a look at it. It sounds like the violations, I don't know if minor is the right word, but it's not like they were horrific.
Right. Whenever a situation like this on breaking news happens, you try to go and take a quick dive into what you can find public. So these are public records. It is through Eagle. Went through inspection reports and violations. So we found 3 violations. This is one example of the most latest one. It's of October of 2022. And we found 3 violations. All involved odor in a 5-year time span. This one that you're looking at closely is from October of 2022. It says, and it calls it persistent and objectionable odors of moderate to strong intensity, level 3, attributable to Avedas's operations impacting residential areas downwind of the facility. So typically in an odor violation like that, they get the violation, they come, they correct it. I did check, there was not a follow-up violation. So overall, for a quick, right now,
just a quick
it's just a quick check. I mean, obviously, in the coming hours, we can take a deeper dive. But typically, Eagle would monitor that. They would also notice for storage. EPA would also notice for air quality. So we do have calls into EPA just to see if there's been anything like that. And also the question today, air quality.
Right.
You got those firefighters out there, and I know you were out there, Nick. What is
Up
that?
until about 10 minutes ago.
I know. I noticed. But when you're taking a look at this, I mean, you see that smoke, and you see. I mean, what did you feel it in terms of in your lungs, or is it something like you just don't notice because it's breaking news and you have the adrenaline?
A little of both, and honestly, we were so close to the fire, which maybe is a bad thing at times because you could feel the heat, but the smoke was actually going over us, so I couldn't really tell what it was like once it kind of settled a little bit into the areas.
Right.
But as we mentioned during the newscast, it wasn't in a residential area.
Right.
So, that's the silver lining in this, but there still are people affected. There's a major highway, 94, running right through there. There's lots of businesses that could be affected by the air quality, so it's certainly something we'll have to look at.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, too, you've been doing this for just a couple of years. When you look at those, who laughed back there?
I think that was Ashley. Ashley's like, she's been here forever.
When you start to do those dives into the state reports, whether it be Eagle, EPA, even OSHA at times, what are the red flags? And did you see any here?
No, right now I did not. Normally the red flags is violation after violation after violation, and they don't fix it, or that you get a violation, they come back to do the check, and then they find something else. So the 3 odor violations they had in the past 5 years, they were cited, and they did not come back. So it doesn't seem like a consistent problem.
Seems like they remedy whatever the issue was.
Yeah, I did this factory a few years ago down in Adrian, and it was like violation like every 3 months, every 6 months. So you know that it's a consistent thing that they're not addressing. So it appears that, it was something like that.
And also didn't affect, you'd be looking for storage tank issues and things like that. We didn't see any of that.
And we didn't see any of that. So that, that's your big concern there. But we will continue to do our dive there. But yeah, EPA is a concern. And also we've got calls to hazmat for Wayne County, because when that call came in, it did say a hazmat call.
Right.
And they said it was safe to enter the building, but at the same time, it is a breaking situation where you've got a fire, you're going to go in.
And because you've been on the streets for so many years too, when something big like that happens, you call in the cavalry, and then you can back off, depending on what it's like. But when you hear that there is an industrial complex or a company like that on fire that mainly deals with oil, you're going to bring everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why we're looking at these live pictures all morning, that it continues to burn. In fact, the live picture we just saw was the first time that I've seen white smoke in the area, which is finally an indication that the fire is either out or very close to being out. That's the first time we saw that since it started 3 hours ago.
Yeah, it really was fierce, and the heat too, et cetera. So I'm glad you're okay. Unfortunately, one firefighter, like you said, was injured, so we're going to have to check and see how they're doing today.
Yeah, the fire department said that it was essentially a minor injury. They are already in stable condition at a hospital, so he or she should be just fine.
Very good.
Yeah. All right, Karen, thank you so much for your insight. We'll look more forward to your reports later on today, because I know you've got a lot of diving to do.
We will.
some digging.
Thanks, Nick.
Karen, thanks. All right, so much more to come for you here on Local 4 Live. We're going to start with kind of our big stories of the day. The weather is one of those big stories. It's a stormy start to our week. While there could be some thunderstorms, the major concern today is actually strong winds, and flooding may be a problem for all of the areas that the downpours will happen. Plus, today is the anniversary of a law to keep Michigan's roads safe. It's about keeping your phone down and your eyes on the road. We're talking about Michigan's hands-free driving law and the impact that we've seen from it. Plus, we're riding a Tigers high after last night's big win. It's the halfway point of the season, so we're talking about all of it with Local 4's resident Tigers experts. We'll get to all those in just a moment. We are going to start with that forecast, though. Ashley keeping an eye on not only the radar for today, but the rest of the day as those storms start to roll in.
That's right, but I really quickly want to start off with our air quality map because you guys were talking about the smoke from our breaking news situation all morning. And right now, we're not picking up too bad of pollutants across the Detroit area. Now, maybe it'll take a little time for our maps to catch up with that. But as of right now, not as much a concern as will the rain and the potential for some thunderstorms today. So putting our live radar on right now, you can see that we have some showers off towards Ann Arbor and then from Detroit towards Mount Clemens. So let's zoom in a little closer here just to show you that I-94 drive through Harper Woods and the Grosse Pointes, that's going to be wet out there. And that even stretches as far west as Madison Heights, close to that I-75 corridor. So rain will be a concern kind of off and on throughout the morning, but the severe threat lies into the afternoon hours. We're talking 1 to 7 p.m. is the primary window, and we're under that level 1 marginal risk for severe weather with damaging wind gusts and flooding the primary threats. That's just because we could see some heavy downpours with the line that comes through. It's with a cold front, so it should be linear this afternoon, meaning you'll see that line approaching from west to east. But otherwise, we have low to mid 70s to start the day temperature-wise. It is a cloudy start as we have rain coming down closer to the city here. And your hourly forecast, we rise into the mid-80s this afternoon with the severe threat really starting to increase into the afternoon and early evening. Quick look at what that feels like temperature will be, because even though we get in the 80s today, looks like widespread 90s for the heat indices. So we'll talk more about that when we catch some relief from it in just a few minutes.
Lee, thank you so much. I know you're going to be busy throughout the day. We can learn much more from Grosse Pointe Woods Police as they investigate the deaths of 2 people. Our cameras were outside this home on Breeze Street near East 8 Mile and Mac around 10 o'clock Sunday night. You can see there's caution tape up. Officers were both inside and outside of the home. We called police for an update last night. We're told we're going to hear more about the investigation at some point today, so we'll keep our fingers on that. Well, Detroiters can hear directly from candidates running for office with a new online platform. This comes from Citizen Detroit. The goal is to make it easier for voters to learn where the candidates stand on some key issues and hear directly from them before the primary and general elections later this fall. The hope is to educate more voters and get more people to the polls. Well, the fate of President Donald Trump's sweeping domestic policy legislation is uncertain on this Monday morning. Going in today's vote, a RAMA in the Senate. Most Republicans are behind the bill, while Democrats are standing against it. If more than three of Republicans oppose the measure, it is likely to fail. Well, today marks 2 years since Michigan's hands-free driving law went into effect. Research shows it is working to cut back on distracted driving. A recent survey done by Michigan State University found a 1.2 percentage point decrease in the number of drivers using handheld devices. Michigan has nearly 8 million licensed drivers, so that's 96,000 fewer people. Still, drivers under the age of 30 were about twice as likely to be on their cell phones compared to ages 30 to 59. To talk much more about the impact we are seeing from that law, we're joined by Steve Kiefer, the chairman and founder of the Kiefer Foundation, and Kevin Sieferheld, attorney at Michigan Auto Law. First of all, thank you so much for coming in here on Monday morning. The numbers speak for themselves that we do see a decrease, but it's a small percentage. And I know it's a lot of people when you look at the number of drivers, but I think both of you would like to see much more happening fairly soon.
Absolutely. We've been doing this all over the country, and generally when these laws go into place, we see about a 10 to 20% reduction in fatalities and crashes. So the Michigan data is very promising, but I think we're going to do much better in the years to come.
Yeah, and from a legal perspective, do you think the law has enough teeth, or do we need more?
We could always use more.
Okay,
We
yeah.
could always use no distracted driving whatsoever. We could always use a law that prevents any use of any type of devices. What we have here is a compromise, like most legislation, and it's a good compromise. As polarized as legislation is nowadays, this was a compromise. It was bipartisan, and essentially it eliminates use of phones with your hands.
Right.
So you can drive, you can use your phone, but it has to be mounted and it has to be set on a hands-free mode.
Right. I know you've told your story millions of times, but for those who haven't heard the background and what happened to Mitchell, can you kind of bring us up to speed?
Yeah, it was nearly 9 years ago. It was September
been that
19th
long
of
already.
2016. It'll be 9 years this September that we lost Mitchell. And Mitchell was an amazing young man in his first month at Michigan State University, driving up on a beautiful Monday morning. He slowed down, and unfortunately, the young lady behind him did not. She was on Snapchat, and she rear-ended Mitchell at about 82 miles an hour, driving him into oncoming traffic on I-96. So as terrible as it is for us, we learn now that 120 people die every day in this country on the roads of the U.S., and we think about half of them are distracted. So we have a lot of work to do. We're proud of what we've done in Mitchell's memory. If you drive I-96, you'll see that stretch is named the Mitchell Kiefer Distracted Driver Awareness Highway, and of course we put guardrails in place that would have saved his life with the help of MDOT, and we'll just continue to do this work to save lives.
Speaking of that, I'm curious, what was it like for you and your family to make that transition from grief to honoring Mitchell to getting to a point now where you're trying to be proactive about it?
Yeah, it was obviously a very, very tough first month, and we had seen other people go through issues like this and have it destroy their lives, and we huddled as a family and just said, we can't let this destroy us. We have to do something in Mitchell's memory. Mitchell always said he wanted to change the world, so we said we're going to change the world
So
in
he's
his
doing it,
memory.
yeah.
And it's really strange for me after 9 years that I can almost speak unemotionally about it, but believe me, it doesn't get much easier, and it still hurts every day when we miss Mitchell.
All right, so we talked about legislation and the need for maybe some more teeth in the law, and I know it's a polarized state capital, it's a polarized country.
Of course.
Do you think there is some political will to do some more, or do you think we're kind of where we're at and this is where we're going to be?
I think if we follow the law, if we continue to not text and drive, and we continue to enact the law, and we continue to enforce the law, I think we'll be okay. In the first 6 months of this law, it already reduced distracted driving and distracted driving accidents by 10%. And here we are in the second anniversary of the law, and it has already reduced crashes 23 times. So drivers are 12 times less likely to be in accidents when they're talking on the phone, and 23 times more likely to be in accidents when they're texting.
Yeah.
So if we follow the law, and that's what's really important.
That's the if, right?
Especially this time of year, where we're talking about the holiday season between Labor Day, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, that's when most crashes happen. That's when most fatalities happen. So if everybody follows the law and they do what they're supposed to do, we're hoping we'll have less crashes.
All right, so we're going to take a short break. We'll talk more about social media and teen driving, all that, but quickly take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. Back now with Steve Kiefer, founder and chairman of the Kiefer Foundation, and Kevin Sieferfeld, attorney at Michigan Auto Law. We were talking just now about the hands-free law in Michigan that's been affected for 2 years, in effect for 2 years. It is working. We want the numbers to be better. And one thing that we talked about is that teens are obviously our number one culprit, right? They're the ones who are behind the wheel and not paying attention. What do we need to do to get the young ones, the 16 to I think it's 25 age range, maybe it's a little different than that, to kind of get the message to sink in a little bit that you could take someone's life here?
Well,
Please go ahead.
yep. Well, 4th of July is this weekend, and there's going to be a lot of kids on the road. There always is a lot of kids on the road. So one thing that we can do is we can tell our kids to go to Michigan Auto Law's #SafeDriveSummer and participate in our campaign and tell our kids that they can sign up and they can take the pledge to drive safely and in return win possibly $250.
Okay, so there's an incentive behind it.
It's
I
an
don't want
incentive.
that to sound callous, but
Yeah.
teenagers are going to do what they want to do unless we
Absolutely.
kind of give them a reason,
Absolutely.
right?
You have to be at least 14 years old. So if you're not, enough to ask your parents. But if you go on our website and you go to #SafeDriveSummer and you sign up and you take the pledge, it's a very simple pledge to drive safe and not text and drive and really do what you're supposed to do on the road. You can win $250. 2 people will win $250 in September when the drawing takes place, and then we will match those both of those $250 gift cards that those people are going to get to the Kiefer Foundation, which
wow.
is a terrific cause.
So
And,
from your
awareness.
perspective, in terms of awareness for especially the younger drivers, is it better to get angry and yell, or do you try to use the emotions and talk your story and Mitchell's life? Or what do you think resonates with them?
I think it's multifaceted. I think we always say the laws are foundational. It has to be illegal. And if you can think of it as sort of analogous to drunk driving in sort of the 80s and 90s, I mean, that became through legislation and through Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, it became just a bad behavior that nobody allows.
Right.
Today, most young people wouldn't get behind the wheel being drunk,
Right.
but they will look at their phone behind the wheel.
You always have to add a stigma to it.
Exactly. So it has to be, it has to be cool to be safe, right? So we think things like these contests, like using safe drive apps through your insurance company. I mean, most people don't know it. They can download an insurance app, a safe driving app, save 20% on their insurance, and become a safer driver. It's kind of a
monetary
no-brainer. So we
incentive,
encourage
yeah.
people to do that and to use the technology. The technology that's distracting us can actually be the technology that can save us.
Sure.
Using things like the focus mode and do not disturb mode in your
They're there for a
iPhones.
reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if we can continue through activities like this, and thank you for allowing us to talk about it, create the awareness. We should also shout out to the state police, because what we find around the country is the effectiveness of these laws, it comes down to 2 things: the awareness campaign and the enforcement campaign. So this is a great example of awareness.
A real deterrent, right.
And I would just also add, we call this period the 100 deadliest days for a reason. The period between Memorial Day and Labor Day, traffic crashes and fatalities typically go up about 15% around the country. And by the way, the 4th of July weekend is historically the most dangerous weekend of the year.
Is it really?
So we really encourage people to take this serious. As we always say, when you're behind the wheel, put the phones down, and I'll use my prop here.
There you go.
And
Just drive.
That's our message. And
We are almost out of time, but I do want to ask you one more quick question. You talked about enforcement in the 34 states, I think you said you've got this, where enforcement is up. The numbers do go down, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's we have to be careful because it's not extremely sticky. We've seen some states like Georgia that were 20% in the first 6 months. Enforcement waned a little bit, and it kind of went back, not as bad as it had been previously, but it does slip back. So we have to keep the enforcement up in every state if we want to be effective.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much, and thank you again for continuing to share your story. I know it can be difficult at times, but Mitchell's legacy lives on through this.
Thank you so much. Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. All right, much more on Local 4 Live here when we come back in 90 seconds. Welcome back here to Local 4 Live. Looking right now at that massive industrial complex fire on Detroit's east side where one firefighter was hurt battling this. This is a live picture. This is at Jefferson and Connor. Again, one firefighter injured. They are expected to be okay. This is at Avedis, which is a recycling plant mainly for waste materials and recycling oil used by the automakers in their production process. So again, we see a lot of white smoke, as Karen and I had mentioned about 20 minutes ago, which means that it appears the majority of that fire are now out or at least contained, which is good news. It was a lot worse not that long ago, so we'll continue to stay on top of this, let you know how that fire progresses or fades away as time goes on. Ashley is joining me here in the corner. Somebody called it Nick's Nook.
I did. That was
That
me.
was you.
Yeah.
How do you feel? I love this.
I like that it's caught on.
It is.
I have a question for you because you have been covering, fires like that on the street for years.
Mm-hmm.
When rain comes by, I mean, is that helpful for the firefighters, or because it can be acidic, is that not so much?
Usually it's pretty helpful for two
Okay.
reasons, actually. Obviously, to put water on the flames, any
Yeah.
water is a good thing unless it's a chemical fire.
Right.
And secondly, it kind of stops some of that, the smoke. Right, it kind of dissipates a little more, and unless it's a big storm and blows even further.
Right.
The dissipation really does help.
Well, we did have that nice heavy downpour kind of roll through the Detroit
Right.
area, so hopefully that helped, expedite getting some of those
I'm
flames
hoping.
out.
It was brutal out
Yeah.
there for a while.
I know. Well, thanks for covering that earlier. Now we're going to be shifting our attention to the threat for some strong to severe storms heading into the afternoon, and that's likely going to be from about 1 to 7 o'clock. Some model data pushing it as late as 8. So we're going to say afternoon into the early evening. Nonetheless, marginal level 1 risk. That's on a 5-level scale, so it's the lowest threat level, but still could produce damaging wind gusts around 60 miles per hour and flooding with some heavy rainfall. And this is very in line with what we had last week as far as you have that humidity. That's a lot of moisture at the surface, and as those storms roll through and you get those stronger updrafts, well, that's going to push all that moisture up above, especially with that cold front. Then it comes down as rain. So humidity definitely resulting in that heavy rainfall a little bit later. And the rain showers rolling through now not helping our humidity. Dew points will remain high, and you see that we do have some showers off towards Ann Arbor and around the city of Detroit. So warm front lifting, it's enough instability to bring scattered showers, nothing severe, but that cold front attached to the low that's now inching close to Chicago, not quite there yet, will work its way here, and that will trigger the potential for severe storms. Right now, we're in the low to mid 70s to start the day across all of southeastern Michigan. And we rise into the 80s this afternoon. So forecasting pretty much mid 80s for that afternoon high with those stronger storm chances after 1. However, the feels like temperature will be warmer. As mentioned just a little while ago, we'll feel like we're into the 90s. So that warm front continues to push out of the thumb region throughout the morning. And then by 1 o'clock, we have more of those discrete kind of pop-up showers and storms preceding the cold front. But right along the cold front, as that pushes in between about 5, 8 o'clock, that window, you'll start to see that line develop from west to east. And that's going to bring the potential for some of those stronger to severe thunderstorms. Otherwise, we dry out throughout the rest of this long holiday week. I know some folks take the whole week off, and boy, you can fire up those grills starting tomorrow. We're going to be in the mid 80s with some sunshine working its way in. Talk about a good stretch of pool days as well, with no severe storm chances all the way through the 4th of July holiday. So we get into the upper 80s on the 4th, and we'll have some sunshine throughout a good chunk of the day before clouds roll in. And it's going to be Saturday and Sunday that we start to track the chance for some inclement weather. And I think come Saturday, it's probably going to be late in the day, if not come Saturday night. So Friday should be dry most of the day Saturday as well, but we're cranking up that heat on Saturday back into the 90s. And then we'll have a chance for some showers and storms on Sunday as we're rounding out the long holiday week with highs back right around 90. So that heat and humidity returning with, just kind of a little hiccup or two for the tail end of the long holiday week. But boy, those parades will go off without a hit.
I was just going to say, last week there was a portion of the forecast that had some rain showers potential on Friday.
I know, and here we are.
Here we are.
I know.
We're in Michigan. It
That's
happens.
right.
Thanks, Ashley. We'll be right back. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. At least one firefighter is recovering from a fire on Detroit's east side. Crews are starting to get the flames now under control at Avedis, which is an oil recycling facility used mainly by automakers who send their byproducts there. This was the scene earlier after we take a live picture here. Now you can look at what the fire was truly like throughout the morning. We've got crews still out there. This is at the area of Jefferson and Connor. We'll have the latest over on clickondetroit.com. We're also going to keep following that breaking news over on Local 4 Plus. Here's what else we have coming up here in the next few minutes on Local 4 Live. A look back at this weekend's Flashpoint with Jason Colthorpe, and a key deadline in Lansing for lawmakers to get the budget passed for Michigan schools, plus talking Tigers and their big win last night. We're going to look back as they are already halfway through their season. Ashley will come back with just a few minutes to look at your forecast for the 4th of July holiday. Keep it right here on Local 4 and Local 4 Plus.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. A live look right now, live pictures as firefighters continue to work on this massive fire over at Avedis, which is on Detroit's east side. We know at least one firefighter was hurt as they worked on that fire, but it sounds like he or she is going to be just fine. This is in the area of Jefferson and Connor near the Jefferson Assembly Plant, although it has nothing to do with the plant. The live pictures there kind of tell the story. We don't see any more black smoke, which is very indicative of the fire being at least controlled, if not out at this point. I do want to show you some video, though, from earlier today, which gave you a great idea of what the fire was actually like in kind of the heat of all of it. This happened at about 5:30, although workers said it was around 2:30 this morning. They started noticing issues with some of the storage tanks. They tried working with their emergency procedures. For whatever reason, that did not work out. They called in more crews. That didn't help either. So when they realized that it was a lost cause, they all evacuated the facility. Nobody was hurt in that, but you can see the massive flames and the plumes of black smoke that covered covered most of Detroit's east side skies. We're going to work more to figure out exactly what caused this fire, hoping to talk to more people inside the plant. And Karen Drew has been digging in to potential issues or violations, although as of right now, all she's found are some odor violations outside of the plant. So nothing major, but she'll continue to work on that. We'll continue to get more information throughout the day here on Local 4 Plus and on Local 4 starting at 4 p.m. and updates at noon as well. All right, we do want to get to our other top story, which is the warm and rainy conditions this week. We're going to take a live look over downtown Detroit, thanks to our friends over in Windsor. Make sure you roll up the windows around lunchtime for the showers and thunderstorms that are moving in. Ashley is tracking some pretty strong gusts that are going to come and flooding issues that will likely happen because of that heavy downpour. Also, we want to talk about a key deadline in Michigan. That is the target date for lawmakers to agree on a budget in Lansing. At the center of this conversation, school funding and a proposal to shift money from K through 12 education. On Flashpoint, Jason Colthorpe got a group of lawmakers together to talk about where negotiations stand right now.
Let's say good morning to our panel of lawmakers. First, from the House, Democrat Joe Tate of Detroit and Republican Tim Kelly of Saginaw Township. And from the Senate, Republican Minority Leader Eric Nesbitt of Van Buren County and Democrat Darren Camilleri of Trenton. Right off the top, I do want to mention that we did invite Speaker of the House Matt Hall to participate this week. We're told he was unavailable. In fact, invited all of the members of the quadrant, and the only one who accepted was you, Mr. Nesbitt. So I might as well start with you. What can you report from the leadership meetings when it comes to the budget, and do we think something substantial can get done before July 1st?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. Thanks for covering this. As we know, July 1st deadline is when school districts start going into their fiscal year. The state's fiscal year starts October 1st. And both the House and the Senate have passed their different budgets. Unfortunately, the Senate Democrat budget's already out of balance after 2 years ago when they blasted through a $9 billion surplus. And we're here after this last time. They've already looking at an $800 million deficit from what the Senate has passed. But what I can tell you right now is that from the House Republicans and their plan of what they passed and trying to empower school districts a little bit more, we need to shake up what we're doing in education a lot more than what we're seeing right now. And I mean that when 3 out of 4 fourth graders can't read at grade level, there's a problem. After the COVID lockdowns, the average student's 3/4 of grade level behind. We got to get back to basics. We got to make sure that there's accountability, there's transparency, not just within the budget, but in the policies that's being implemented here in the state of Michigan.
We might as well dive right into the education part of this since we have Darren and Tim here. You guys are key members on the education part of this. Darren, do you agree with that, first of all? And when it comes to the education part of this, you mentioned the July 1st deadline. This is key for school districts, higher ed, to make sure they have all their budgets in place.
Of course, it's critical. That's why the Senate passed our budget back in April. We've been waiting for the House Republicans to do their part. They finally did about 2 weeks ago, really close to the deadline here, which is why I think now folks are trying to scramble to meet the July 1st deadline. We've been prepared. We passed a balanced school budget, to be very clear on that front. And we're still waiting on the House Republicans to pass a general budget. We don't know how they want to pay for fixing the roads or pay for public safety. We put our plan out there. And so we're ready to get to a deal. We've been ready to get to a deal. And our hope is that we can find some common ground. Representative Kelly and myself have had some good conversations there, but we still have a long way to go, I would say, before we finally get to a budget that all of us can vote on.
Tim, it seems like each side keeps saying, we've done our part, but you're not. Where do you see it as where we go from here to try and get this done?
I think we're on track to get something done. Honestly, I think that, as Senator Camilleri has mentioned, we've had some productive meetings, and another one yesterday. Kind of, fell apart at the end on trying to get some additional gifts, or not gifts, but gets for us. And nonetheless, we're ready to work through the weekend if we have to. We want to see if we can get a vote on Tuesday.
Joe, do you think the July 1st deadline is feasible at this point? It seems like everybody's very skeptical, considering not even one element, either, whether it's education, the general fund, roads, which we have to talk about. None of those are tied up up quite yet.
Well, each day that goes by, we get closer to July 1. It's just going to make it more challenging. You know, what I will say about the budget process, being, you know, Speaker of the House last session and looking at it historically, when you look at K through 12 budgets, even during the Snyder administration, the K through 12 budget was done in July so that schools had time to prepare. Yeah. So if we move past this mark, I mean, it really shows that, you know, there are some missed opportunities, you know, on our side and really a failure, because if we can't get this done, and parties aside, whoever's in charge, we've gotten this done in July 1. So I hope that we can meet that mark.
As former speaker, you say it's a failure. Whose failure is it? A lot of people point the finger at Matt Hall. Is it his fault? Is it the governor's fault? Where do you see it?
Well, I can say as Speaker, over the past 2 years, we got a balanced budget done on time before July 1. So there's a difference in leadership now than last year, just last year.
I just want to suggest that this July 1 date is less critical, I think, than most people would think. I mean, there's still several, 3 or 4 months left on the budget that they already know they have. They've been crafting budgets for the last month or two. We gave them direction a little bit with at least it's $10,000 on ours. The floor was $10.25, yours was $10.08. So you can build budgets off that. Yeah. Everything else is kind of extraneous. So I don't think that this is as big a deal. This is kind of more of an inside baseball game than it.
Well, I know there's no penalties, but yeah. I mean, cities, townships, and like we mentioned, schools. I mean, they count on that sometimes, don't they? Or you're saying
they do,
it's not as important?
My point is, if it goes a day or two, past the deadline, right. Or even if it went, quite honestly, to October, which I don't think it's going to happen, I don't think it would be that big a deal.
That was my next question.
But if I may, though, on that point, it is the law. We passed a law that the governor signed that these budgets will be done by July 1st. And so we're at a point now where we've done our part in the Senate on both budgets. The House has done their part on an education budget. They have not passed a regular budget. And so the people of Michigan are looking for their priorities. And it's been hard for us to really come together on a full agreement because we have not seen those priorities out of the House. And so to your point about who's to blame, Speaker Hall is the reason that we are at this point. I think that we found some momentum on the education budget. My hope is we still get there by July 1. But when it comes to an overall deal, each budget goes together. You can't fix the roads without knowing how much money you can spend on schools, without knowing how much money you can spend on public safety. It all is together in one pot of money. And then we have this big problem right now where we don't know how much money we're going to be cut from the federal government. Because as Speaker Hall mentioned in his trip to Washington, D.C., taking away an entire week of our budget process, he supports cuts to Medicaid. Well, that's going to blow a major hole in our general fund budget.
I think people are tired of kind of the finger pointing and blame games. There's a lot of major issues here in Michigan that need to be taken on, whether it's local roads, whether it's the quality of our schools, whether it's making sure that students in high school are ready to be career ready to go on to college and with that performance base. But we're not getting the basics done right now. And with the governor last week going off to Australia, that's not helpful in terms of the current negotiations. They should have been in helping get that done.
The House was in DC, though, too.
In part, the House was there for a day working with the White House and working with President Trump. And if the Senate Democrats would spend more time in actually negotiating instead of doing speeches against President Trump this week, we probably would have been a little farther along. But at the end of the day, there's major problems here in the state of Michigan, whether it's local roads, whether it's making sure students are able to learn and read. And how do we get back to the basics of making sure that the money's going to the classroom, that we're empowering students, and we're empowering parents to making sure that our next generation is able to be successful. In the last few years, with what we've seen out of Lansing, is not working for our students in the schools.
Well, there is no penalty for missing that July 1st deadline. We're going to keep an eye on all this today here on Local 4. You can watch all of that Flashpoint Roundtable right now and click on Detroit.com. Well, U of M students could get a new view of the campus from a high-rise that's set to move in. We're going to tell you some of the nice perks it comes with when we come back here on Local 4 Live. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. A story we've been following that made national headlines. A possible plea deal now for a researcher accused of smuggling biological material from China to University of Michigan lab. Federal prosecutors saying Chang Swing Han sent packages concealed with material related to roundworms to a U of M lab and then lied to border agents about it, allegedly. A hearing is scheduled for this afternoon. We're going to see what comes out of that federal hearing. Well, take a look at this. A man known for giving to the community wanted to do it one last time as he was laid to rest on Friday. This is video of a helicopter dropping, I believe it's $50,000 and rose petals over a funeral home. Daryl Thomas owned a car wash in that neighborhood, and his sons planned for the money drop during his services. According to police, they knew about the drop, but not the plan for money to rain on down. Now the FAA has to investigate. U of M students will have a new high-rise they can soon move into. We're going to take a live look over at the Big House, which is a short drive from the Chapter Ann Arbor apartments setting up on South University Avenue and Church Street. Take a look at this here. The project developer, CRG, says the building will have solar panels on top of the roof and will be designed to be a fully electric building in the future. Construction is expected to start in August to build the 183 units with over 600 beds. You can see it right there. Apartments will be fully furnished with smart TVs, in-unit washers and dryers. That's huge. It's all going to come with amenities like a fitness center, study lounges, and a rooftop patio. It's expected to be ready by the 2027 school year. That sounds like vacation instead of a dorm. I don't know, Director Michelle, maybe your daughter wants to go somewhere else now. No? Okay. Well, did you leave your car windows open? It's about time to double check them. Ashley is tracking showers for your Monday. Might want to roll them up. She's going to come back with storms coming in just a few minutes. Live pictures right now over on Detroit's east side where fire crews continue to work on a fire at Avedis, which is an oil recycling facility there. This is near Jefferson and Connor. One firefighter has been hurt, but they are going to be okay. You can see not any flames at this point, which is great news. It appears the fire is finally out after hours and hours. I do want to show you some video from earlier this morning as crews were battling this with huge clouds of smoke filling the sky over on the east side. It started at about 5 o'clock this morning, although workers there told me that they started noticing issues around 2:30 this morning. They initiated their emergency stop procedures, but for whatever reason, things did not go as planned, and they had to evacuate the building as the fire began. You can see just how big it is and just how much damage there is now because of that fire. As I mentioned, a firefighter was injured, but they are in stable condition at a hospital. Not sure what happened or what the injury is, but again, they appear to be, it appears that they will be okay. We've got more information over on our website at clickondetroit.com. Okay, Ashley Barrissey in the Nook now that she named. I'm going to give you all the credit in the world, right? And then I'll give you credit for all the storms rolling through.
No. I like to take the credit for all the good stuff, and I just pass along the bad stuff to somebody else.
That's Ron's fault.
Oh, Ron's like too nice to do that, too.
We can give it to Brian. That's Brian's fault.
Yeah, that's Brian's fault. No, I'm just oh, man, he's going to be like, Ashley. Yeah, I mean, here we go again. It's summertime in Michigan, and you get the heat and humidity clashing with these fronts that come in, and then we're looking at these chances for showers and storms. So wind gusts over 60 miles per hour will be the primary threat today. Also some heavy downpours. And so that has to do with the fact that humidity is trapped in the atmosphere. We had that warm front lift, and so that's brought some showers, increasing the dew point, the humidity throughout the day. And then eventually as that, moisture lifts, it comes back down as heavy rainfall. 1 to 7 is the primary threat time for severe weather, but we do have some rain showers to contend with before we even get to that window. So we do have some scattered showers on Exact Track 4D, kind of draping the Novi area, stretching down towards Metro Airport. So especially for folks that will be driving along I-275, it'll be a little damp out there. And then we also have kind of some steady rain from about Mount Clemens towards Port Huron. So it's the scattered variety right now with that warm front lifting. But you see the cold front, that blue line there attached to the low, that's going to clash with the heat and humidity ahead of it. And so as the day progresses and that front pushes towards our area, we'll have the better chance for some of those stronger storms. So temperature-wise, we are in the 70s across the area, especially Metro Airport at 73, but check out Sandusky, 77. So we've been trending a little warmer up there. But this afternoon around Metro Airport, we'll top out in the mid 80s. So 1 o'clock onward, we'll have the better chance for some storms firing off. They look like they're more discrete cells to begin with, but the line will hit us closer to the dinner hour. And so here's a look at how this shakes out, where we do have a few of those scattered shower and storms right around 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then as that front approaches, that more organized line will be with the front as that pushes through, like I said, that dinner hour, evening rush hour drive. And we should be drying things out as we head into tomorrow. But let's talk about how this works. So that cold front will clash with the warmer air. It gives that steep frontal slope. So the warm air then moves above the cold air. And with all the moisture and the humidity, that's going to lift too. So you get those tall, ominous clouds, and you get what we call a squall line that forms with that cold front. And squall lines typically produce those strong straight line winds. And so that's going to be the ingredients we're looking at today. But beyond that, check out the grilling forecast, a stretch of pool days, grilling days, whatever you want to call it. Just a beautiful summer pattern that will be in come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll take that even into your 4th of July Friday. So dry conditions for any of the outdoor festivities, whether it will be a parade earlier in the day or fireworks into the evening. And then we're cranking up the heat going into the weekend, back into the low 90s, feeling warmer with the heat index and a chance for some showers and storms starting Saturday night into Sunday.
I like what you did there. You started with the ominous stuff and then you ended on a high note, George Costanza style.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right, Ashley, thank you much. After a fantastic first half of the season, Tigers fans ready to keep that momentum going. A live look now at Comerica Park, where we are expecting great things from the Tigers and the All-Star game coming up. Our resident Tigers expert rolling into Studio A in just a moment. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. The Detroit Tigers have hit the midway point of the 2025 season. It's safe to say it's been a fun season. While even the most optimistic of fans wouldn't have predicted the Tigers would be this good, they became the first team to 50 wins on Tuesday night and have by far the biggest division lead of any MLB team right now. We got a full breakdown of the team's performance right now over on some website we like to call clickondetroit.com. Written by a guy that we call the go-to, the EP, the resident Tigers expert, Derek Hutchinson. Derek, thank you for joining us here.
Nick?
In Nick's Nook. That's what we're
Nick's
working
Nook.
Nick's
Nice.
Nook,
I like it. It's very cozy.
Okay, so going off of last season, I remember being outside, standing with you, right, for opening, for going into the postseason. There was so much energy behind the Tigers. Do you think some of that kind of kickstarted this season as well?
Yeah, I think it carried over. The sentiment, I feel like nationally was sort of like, well, the Tigers got hot. They were a cute story, but this year there's no way they can do it over a full season. And now it's like, well, they've been doing it for 85 games here, and at what point do you just have to buy into it because they've been doing it for so long? So yeah, I think that sort of made them believe, and now they've just carried it into a full season.
So what do you think are some of the highlights in terms of the expectations that we've exceeded? There's a lot of numbers there, and there's a lot of people who say, but what's the key takeaway for you?
Yeah, it's the offense and how well balanced it is. I think everybody knew the pitching staff was going to be great with Skubal and Flaherty and all their young pitchers, but to have an offense where every guy has a role and they know where they fit into the whole offensive scheme, and then they just produce in those moments.
It's the definition of having a deep bench.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
AJ Hinch, if you're on this roster, you are a starter because you're going to get into the game at some point. You know when you're going to be called on, in what situation. And AJ Hinch just does such a good job of moving those chess pieces and playing them in the right spots.
Do we have any Achilles heels? Do we have any issues that we should work on?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but it honestly feels like the back
Don't
end of
jinx it.
The back end of the starting rotation right now is a little bit questionable, partially because of injuries, maybe a little bit of underperformance, but really the Tigers haven't had like a losing streak. They've only lost 3 games a couple times. And when you don't lose a lot of games in a row, it's really difficult for teams to make up ground on you.
Okay, All-Star game coming up. Who's playing? What do you think?
I think the Tigers are going to get 4, I'm going to say. Yeah, I mean, they have probably as many as 7 guys who are under consideration, but Gleyber Torres is going to be in. Derek Skubal is obviously going to be in, you know, but it's the dark horses like Zach McKinstry or Javi Baez. Like, can those dudes get in who are kind of underappreciated across the game, but who have been key pieces in what the Tigers have done this year?
Was it Javi that got to have his son do the first pitch of the last game? That was pretty cool.
That was pretty awesome. It's funny how much different of a Javi we've gotten this year with him moving to center field and looking more comfortable and being healthy. Makes a big difference.
All right, so looking towards the second half of the season then, do we want to start talking postseason, or is it too soon to put
No,
those
it's not
players?
too soon.
No, okay.
Yeah, we can talk postseason.
Okay.
When you're at 11 and a half games up in their division, it would be wrong to not enjoy this and be like, okay, what are we looking at for the playoffs? So, I mean, without trying to jinx anything, you're looking at the Yankees, you're looking at the Astros, and you're saying, can the Tigers get a first-round bye? You know, can they stay out of that dangerous best 2 out of 3 series, and can they get a home series in a potential ALCS? So,
Is there a
I don't
pennant?
think
Is there a pennant in the future?
There very well could be. They're the favorite, I would say. They have the best record in the league. They've been the most consistent team. And who would want to play the Tigers in the playoffs when you know you're seeing Tarek Skubal at least one of those games? So they're set up really well. Yep.
What do you think Verlander is thinking nowadays?
I should have came back. The Giants aren't looking as good as the Tigers right now. Yeah.
How much fun has it been for you? Because you've been following them forever, right? And this is, there are bandwagon fans, and there are those who stick with it no matter what.
Yeah.
That's you.
The sun is always shining. I hear birds chirping at all times of the day. I mean, it's been a long time, man. The thing about baseball is that when your team is bad, you feel it because it's 162 games. It's every night in the summer. And it's just painful to watch bad baseball. And it's been
especially in 97-degree heat, too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a decade of that. So, like, the last run in last season was so rewarding. This year is even better because you know that you've got a good team and, like, you're going to enjoy it over the long haul. So, more than any other sport, having a good baseball team, I think is just super rewarding. Yeah.
You know what's also been fun, too, is to see the entire city lift up. You know, the Lions, obviously, where they're at. Tigers now. Wings, we're crossing our fingers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of question marks surrounding them and what Steve and the team are doing there. I don't know what we can do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any insight.
On the Wings?
Yeah.
The clock's ticking. Eisenman's been here for a long time. But like you said, all they need to do is show a little bit of life because look at the Lions fans, how well they've been traveling.
That's fair.
Look at the scene at Comerica Park last night on national TV. I mean, that was electric. So if the Wings just show you a little bit, the fans are going to show up. I mean, this is a hockey town. So, he's got to have an active offseason. It's been a little underwhelming the last few years. It's really hard to see the vision. You can't just draft well in hockey. Like, you need to be able to make some moves to bring in some proven talent. So while drafting well is good, it's good for the pipeline. You need to also be able to supplement that.
I'm going to talk to AJ about building that bench.
Yeah. Maybe you should have a little bit of a discussion with AJ. Yeah.
All right, Terry. Thanks for coming in, man. Of
course.
Welcome to the Nook.
The Nook is awesome. Man.
I love it.
Anytime.
Thanks. So much more to come here on Local 4 Live. We're going to take you back to the scene of that breaking news: a massive industrial fire burning on Detroit's east side. Plus, it is a mystery that has haunted people on the state's west side for decades. What happened to the wreckage of a plane that disappeared over Lake Michigan? We're talking to a woman who has made it her mission to find it until now. And we're going to bring you live to our latest Go For It event. Ty Steele is in Taylor as we try to make sure no child goes hungry this summer. More news and weather in our next hour. Stay with us here on Local 4 Live.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking.
Good morning, everybody. We are following breaking news on Detroit's east side. Crews are finally getting an upper hand on that massive industrial fire that hurt one firefighter. This is over in the area of Jefferson and Connor. The fire department is giving an update on this at any moment. We've got a crew out there. We're going to bring you all those updates as soon as we possibly can. Of course, we are waiting to learn what caused the fire itself, how much damage is out there, if anything could have been done differently to contain that fire or stop it from happening. Sky 4 was caught crews battling this fire and the huge cloud of smoke that was filling the sky. Again, we are working to learn if there are any more injuries besides that firefighter. We're going to keep checking back throughout the next hour to see what changes are happening and what comments we'll get from the fire chief in any moment. Well, welcome everybody to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. I'm back. Had a little bit of a break. Ashley missed me.
I did.
Yeah. It's 9 a.m. So much to cover here in the next hour. Let's break it all down for you right now. We're going to bring you live to our Go Forward event, which started about a minute ago. Ty Steele and the team are out there for a very worthy cause, making sure no child goes hungry this summer. And we are watching the weather. Ashley is watching the weather. I'm watching her watch it. Another afternoon of possible severe storms. She's going to be here to keep you updated on all the windows you need to close and when and where. Also, a missing plane mystery. What happened to the wreckage of a plane that disappeared over Lake Michigan? We're going to talk to a woman who has dedicated her life to finding him. But let's start with the weather, because Ashley has been very busy over in the Forewarn weather office, because I don't know how you do this, because when you have this much challenge in the atmosphere, it seems like these storms can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, every storm system's a little different. A couple days last week we had a stalled out boundary by the state line, and that was just enough instability to create just these like pop-up popcorn showers. Now when you have a front passing through, you can track the front distinctly as it's a line, and we have that. The only difference is this morning warm front lifted, and so there's still just enough instability for there to be rain.
Sure.
But the severe threat will be later on this afternoon from west to east. I was just thinking though, as you were talking, like shut the windows. I'm like, I should have put the patio umbrella down.
Oh.
We had footage last week of like a whole patio
Just
set that went up on somebody's roof because the winds like took the umbrella. So hopefully
call your neighbors.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll call my mom. She's at my house right now. Hey, make sure you put the umbrella down.
Maybe she's watching.
She could be, although she's chasing after my two little ones right now.
So she's not watching.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about what we have right now as far as your storm threat. So we do have a marginal risk for severe weather as we head in the afternoon. We're talking 1 to 7, 8 o'clock is the time frame for the potential for severe weather. And so as far as those threat risks, well, gusty, damaging winds and flooding from the heavy downpours will be the primary threats with this system. So here's a better illustration of what I was talking about. Warm front has already pushed north of here, pushing into the thumb right now, but we have that chasing cold front that will create the chance for some of the severe weather. And then you have that low pressure system just off of Lake Michigan, and that's going to create instability. High pressure brings you the blue, sunny skies. So the low and those fronts, well, it's going to create some trouble. Right now, we just have inconvenient rain. A little heavier as you get in the southern portion of Monroe and Lenawee counties, so well south of I-94, just close to the state line there. And then some remnant little light showers across the heart of the metro region. So let's talk about what it looks like over at Metro Airport, where it does look a little soggy, soupy, but we have the cloud cover up above, and we're all in the low to mid 70s, at least at this hour on your Monday morning. Will rise into the 80s today, but this is more of what it's going to feel like. Those yellow temperatures on the map would be the heat index. So it's going to feel like we're in the low to mid 90s, even though we're going to be in the upper 80s and a lot of spots for that afternoon high. So it's the air you can wear, but then we have that cold front come through and it brings us more stable seasonal conditions with sunshine. Still on the warm side, we're talking mid to upper 80s, but at least we'll be in a very kind of classic summer pattern. So your forecast planner for today, mid 80s for the afternoon high, 1 o'clock onward is when those storms could be firing off, but I think a better chance of them being more linear around the dinner hour. So we have those strong storms possible from 1 to 7. Otherwise, we're in that near seasonal stretch, and we will have some sunshine for the holiday weekend. And so let's take a quick look, though, at your full forecast, as we will get that sunshine even for the 4th of July. So that'll be nice for outdoor activities, and then another chance for some off and on shower and storm chances this weekend, starting late Saturday into Sunday, and it's going to be toasty. So if you do have plans to be by a pool for the long holiday weekend or the lake, as long as you can dodge maybe some of those rain chances at the tail end, would be nice weather for
I would complain about the weekend, but you cleared out Friday for the holiday. So
and that's the most important day, right? Because you have the parades and firework displays across the area.
All right, Ashley, thank you. All right, this morning we are hoping to learn more about a serious crash over on Merriman in Livonia that happened overnight. This is video we shot around 3 o'clock in the morning, just as the scene was clearing on Merriman near Linden. All we know right now is that the crash happened. There may have been a fatality involving a young child. It may be a hit and run, but we're still trying to get all the information confirmed from police. Our newsroom does have calls into Livonia Police. We should get an update from them very, very soon. Also today, we are expecting to learn more about two people who were found dead inside of a Grosse Pointe Woods home. This is video of police investigating that home on Breeze Street, where police were seen going inside and out of the home. According to Grosse Pointe Police, or Grosse Pointe Woods Police, officers were there working on the scene, trying to figure out what happened. They responded to a welfare check Sunday afternoon. That's when they found two folks inside. Police stayed at the home for several hours investigating. Michigan State Police are now taking over that investigation. Happening in just under an hour from now, the teens charged in connection to the death of an Oakland County deputy will be in court. Last June, Deputy Bradley Reckling was following a stolen car when he was shot and killed. Ramon DeBose is charged with his murder, and Marquise Goins is charged with being an accessory. A third suspect pleaded guilty to his charges in March. DeBose and Goins are due in court at 10 o'clock this morning for a final conference. That's one of the last hearings before a trial can actually start. Let's take a look now what Michiganders could see at the gas pump ahead of this week's holiday, the fourth holiday. Data from AAA is saying gas prices are staying pretty steady. Right now, the state's average is $3.26 for a gallon of gas. It's down 2 cents from 1 week ago. AAA says the conflict between Iran and Israel is driving up oil prices, but summer gas prices are the lowest since 2021. Metro Detroiters can see a happy medium price at around $3.27 a gallon. Holiday travelers getting ready to hit the roads, you might see the price go up just a little bit as we get closer to the 4th of July holiday. Well, summer break should mean fun for kids, not hunger. But in Southeast Michigan, 1 in 5 do not know where their next meal is coming from, especially when they're not in school, because schools usually provide free breakfast and free lunch. That's why we're teaming up with Gleaners Community Food Bank in Taylor for today's Go Forward event. Our own Ty Steele is live this morning. Ty, you are putting together kits that will help feed children and their families.
Yes, this is our next Go For It campaign. Nick, good morning to you. We're at the Gleaners Taylor Community Food Bank. This is where all the action is going to happen in about 20 minutes. You can see behind me this warehouse, all this food ready to be packed. No volunteers at the moment. They're getting orientation in the room right over there, but in about 15 minutes, this place is going to be packed. This is where all the food is going to happen. So walk with me.
I think
as
you're
we
up
talk
for
a little bit about the need. And I want you to imagine a scenario with me for a moment. Imagine you're 8 years old and you're waking up this morning and you don't know where your breakfast or your lunch is going to come from that day. Unfortunately, that is the reality for hundreds of thousands of kids in Southeast Michigan. Around 300,000 rely on their school breakfast and lunch for their main meals of the day. That is why we have teamed up with Gleaners. I want to introduce you to Angela Halverson. She is the Community Director of Giving, and she is here now to talk about what we can do as a community to help with this need that spikes every year in the summer. Right, Angela?
Yes, absolutely. So kids are out of school for the summer. In southeastern Michigan, 1 in 5 kids are food insecure. So they've likely been relying on the free breakfast and lunch at school. School's out. So we need to help them.
People generally think about giving to food banks during the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Let's make that table big for the holidays. But in the summer, there's actually, in many ways, a greater need because all those kids who are getting fed during the summer, they're not getting that need met. So what's the best way that people can give? We've been asking for volunteers. Volunteers today. You guys answered the call. We are fine on volunteers today, although we always need volunteers in the future.
Yes.
But what is the need today, Angela?
The need today, the greatest way that members of the community can make an impact is to donate. They can donate on our website. They can donate on the WDIV link. Usually for every donated dollar, Gleaners can provide 3 meals. Right now, we've got a wonderful match going on. Every single donation, every dollar is being matched by Citizens Bank, Kroger, Delta Airlines, and other great partners. And so now, every dollar can provide 6 meals.
Oh, that is so exciting. Talk more about the need. We threw out a number, 300,000 kids that rely on school lunch and breakfast. Is that the number that we're talking about that we need to feed this summer?
Absolutely it is. And those are just the kids. What about their families? What about the parents that are deciding between a meal and turning on the air conditioning during some pretty dangerous heat waves lately? Gas in the car, and groceries are so expensive.
I know, groceries are really expensive right now. Okay, let's talk about how the need has grown, because over the years, in 2022, I think it was 2.3 million pounds were distributed by Fish and Loaves alone. There are 350 other partners in the area.
Yes.
And then 2 years later, it was like 3.4 million. That's just one of the food banks. So talk about the growing need.
It's ever growing. So I started at Gleaners during the pandemic. I started in 2020. So I don't really know what normalcy looks like for a food bank in this area. But it's always growing. Things out of people's control are always shifting. So the one thing that we can do is unite as a community and help out our fellow neighbors.
What a great cause. Thank you for having us, Angela. Thank you for partnering with us again.
Yes.
We're at the Gleaners Food Bank in Taylor, and we are asking for dollar donations because every single dollar donated is going to be matched, provide 6 meals for kids that do not know where their next meal is coming for the summer. In about 10 minutes, the volunteers are going to be here. We're going to check in with you guys in about 25 minutes. We'll show you all the action going on. Again, no volunteers needed today, but we still need volunteers in the future, so go to the website and register if you'd like to do that. Not today, but in the future. Back to you, Nick.
You know, Ty, I wonder if we should make some kind of a wager here. How many boxes do you think you can fill in the next 25 minutes?
Ooh. Well, okay, so let me do the math. There was a group of about 40 people that packed 1,300 boxes in 3 hours. So if I'm one of 40, not good at math, do the math for me, get back to me. That's how many I'm going to do.
Perfect. All right, Ty, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, a mid-air mystery leaves behind more questions than answers more than half a century later. Why search efforts are being called off at a plane crash that killed 58 people over in Lake Michigan. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. 9:13 here on Monday morning. It is a decades-old mystery that now may never be solved. A plane disappears over Lake Michigan with dozens of people on board. Northwest Orient Flight 2501 left New York's LaGuardia Airport in June 1950, with stops scheduled in Minneapolis and Washington. It encountered bad weather, then stopped responding to radio requests. 58 people were killed. Body parts and debris began washing ashore at South Haven South Beach. You're looking live there right now, but the wreckage never found. So for the past 20 years, longer than that actually, the Michigan Shipwreck Research Association has been searching, but this year they have called off the search. Joining us now is Valerie Van Heest, the executive director of the association. She actually wrote a book about this tragedy. Valerie, thank you for joining us. I'll just ask the question right out of the gate. Why have we called off the search?
Well, you know, it was a tough decision to make. 75 years ago this week, the accident happened. The Navy and the Coast Guard only spent a week on site looking, and back then they deemed it impossible to find. We thought with new technology, 55 years later, we began that search. We've put 20 years into it, and we're deciding that it's impossible to find. We made a lion's effort compared to the government 75 years ago.
Can you explain to us what the water there is like? It must be just devastatingly difficult to find anything when you're that deep and it's that dark.
Well, you know, we normally search for shipwrecks. Our organization is a maritime organization. We use side scan sonar. The ships we look for are 150 to 250 feet long. This airliner was only 90 feet long, and we know from the debris discovered on the water and on the beaches that it broke up into thousands of pieces. So we're looking for a small debris field, not a big airplane sitting on the bottom. And we believe that after 75 years, those remains have settled into the muck on the lake bottom, no longer findable. We use a device called side scan sonar, which sends out acoustical impulses, and they look for anything sitting on the bottom, and they return an image. And we've seen nothing but flat sand bottom in the very high priority area that we've been searching.
Well, you had mentioned it was a difficult decision. I can't imagine just how difficult, because not only are you dealing with this mystery, but you're dealing with, I'm assuming, families who are looking or praying or hoping for some answers.
Yeah. Well, and for me, about 18 years ago, I was contacted by one family member, the son of a victim. His name was William Kaufman. His mother, Jean, died. And in getting to know Bill, he encouraged me to find other victims' families so they could compare notes. And in the space of about 5 years, I found 52 of the 58 families. And that's largely the reason that I wrote my book, Fatal Crossing, is to share what we were learning with the family members. I've kept up with them every year for the length of our search, reporting our search effort. And this year we had to report that after 20 years, we just can't keep this up anymore. We think we've covered the whole area.
Do you think, though, that even though you didn't find wreckage, maybe what you did find and the fact that it probably scattered in so many pieces and is just littered down there at the bottom of the lake now, maybe that was some closure for families?
You know, we did. The research that I put together really solved the mystery of this crash. We know what the storm was doing. We know the information that Northwest operators gave the pilot. We know that wasn't good information. The pilot made his own decisions. They happened to be the wrong decisions. Certainly a storm brought this plane down. We just don't know precisely where. But it's through the book, it's through a museum exhibit, it's through the discovery and marking of 2 graves where human remains were interred without markings. Doing all that provided the families closure.
Is there any frustration on your part because you don't have that finality, so to speak, or do you think you put in such a valiant effort that you got as far as you possibly could?
You know, certainly it's very frustrating. We have put in a valiant effort. We found in the course of looking for this airplane wreckage, we found 9 shipwrecks, and many of them are very significant. I've written about those. I've designed museum exhibits about those. I lecture about those. So we're making discoveries, we're sharing it with the public, while at the same time keeping the memory of Flight 2501 alive. So I consider what we've done a great success, even without finding the remains.
Absolutely, especially considering that you were the only one looking for it. That must have meant a lot to those families.
Well, I wanted to make sure that the families were in touch with us so that if we did make a discovery, we could let them know personally, privately, before the media found out. And so that was one of the reasons I made an effort to contact them. But in contacting and talking to them, what came out was an outpouring of emotion, stories about these individuals. It was clear that all this needed to be memorialized in the book that I did eventually write.
Yeah. All right. Well, Valerie, thank you so much for your time today. And for the last 20 years you have spent looking for that. Even though you couldn't find it, I think you found answers, which may have been more important.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, when we come back, an update on that fire on Detroit's east side, some answers from the Detroit Fire Department itself. We'd like to get you updated on some breaking news on Detroit's east side. We just got an update from the Detroit Fire Department on the massive fire. You were looking at what's left of it now. No fire anymore, which is great news. Crews getting the upper hand on this as you look live at this facility at Jefferson and Connor. Let's listen to that update from the Detroit Fire Department.
Around 5 o'clock in the morning, DFD received 911 calls of a fire. Before that, there was an employee of Avitas was offloading product, and he heard he seen steam and heard like a bang, left the facility, called 911, and then when we came, there was active fire and smoke, heavy smoke coming from the facility. Immediately when the crews got here, they called for a second alarm. I have the owner on site. We have hazmat on site. We're doing air monitoring, and we're going to be here for another 8 hours and continue to air monitor for probably at least another 8 hours.
At this current point, can you tell us the concerns about the air quality? Is this just you have to take time to monitor the situation? What can you tell us right now about it?
I would say when it was actively burning, the risk was a little more. As of right now, we're kind of like in a cooling stage. There's no more product burning right now, and there's no leakage right now that we know of, but we're going to continue to monitor. Our biggest concern right now is to offload. There's a lot of product that leaked out that is in the street with oil water mix. They're offloading that right now, and then we're working on that cleanup. And we're going to continue to cool the facility and do the air monitoring.
What does the time frame look like on that for cleanup in terms of such a big situation?
Yeah, the cleanup could take anywhere from 24 to 72 hours, and we're going to be here until we get all zeros or until the community is totally safe.
And forgive me if you already said this, but what time were you guys called around out here, and how long did it take you guys to get under control? I know it was a really big situation.
I think the initial 911 calls came in around 5 o'clock in the morning, and the fire, it was in control as soon as we got here and started putting water on it, but before we got the flames under control, it was probably around 2 hours that we were here. So around 7:10, and it was still smoking, and now as you can see, there's hardly anything left. Right now we're doing the cooling stages and still overhauling and doing our investigation right now.
Is there any previous history with this station and any other concerns with fires or no?
I'm unaware of that right now. None of that I've heard of. I talked to fire marshal, and nobody's told me anything like that they're a repeat offender or anything like that, no.
Okay. And then can you talk about the work that goes into making sure it doesn't spread, especially to other businesses around here?
Yeah. After we put the fire out, after we see no more steam, no more smoke, we'll get our crews in there, we'll check it out, we'll see what's going on. We have hazmat here, we're going to continue to investigate. So this is still an active scene. We're going to be here for several hours, minimum 8 hours, maybe more.
All right, so we're going to be watching that throughout the day to see how the air quality improves, hopefully, in the next couple of hours. But a couple of lingering questions still. How did this happen, and are there any issues inside the facility? Although, as Karen Drew dug into, there were some very minor violations through the state environment of Eagle. That's not the name, but Eagle. We're going to take a live look now outside. Ashley is tracking more storms heading our way that will impact your Monday and then this coming weekend, but a nice break in between. Welcome back to Nick's Nook and Local 4 Live. I want to get like a neon sign.
Oh, that would be nice.
It would go well. It would fit the decor.
Open 24 hours.
Don't give them any ideas. You know what is open 24 hours? Your radar.
That is true.
It's been busy.
You know, this is a good reminder for folks that haven't downloaded the app to do so. You not only can track radar, but you're going to get push notifications like I did this morning, even here in Detroit. Lightning detected within 5-10 miles. Also, when rain's approaching your area. And boy, this is the week especially, and going into the weekend, that you're going to want those kind of notifications. But I will say, once we get past today, it's going to be smoother sailing, but today's a pretty bumpy ride. So we do have a threat for some strong to severe storms today. Now, what we've been dealing with this morning is not the severe threat. This is what the warm front's bringing us, just some instability, some scattered showers. Some have brought a couple isolated downpours with a couple lightning strikes, but we've had a stronger storm develop up towards Lapeer, but not to severe limits. So the severe threat will be from about 1 to 7 o'clock this afternoon and evening, with the damaging wind gusts and heavy rain, really the primary threats. And it's for all of southeastern Michigan that you see shaded in green. But let me show you Exact Track 4D. So you can see that south of I-94, well south really, I mean you get into Monroe and Lenawee counties, some steady widespread light rain, but bring your attention just north of Lapeer where we have picked up a few lightning strikes. That's a cell of a stronger storm pushing out of Lapeer, but it is moving so slowly, northeast at about 10 miles per hour. So that's going to continue to push up into the thumb region for a while. But that warm front bringing a few of those discrete little cells that we're tracking, and it's going to be that cold front that's just to the southwest of that low that could clash and bring us more of the stronger to severe weather later on today. So temperature-wise, we are in the 70s widespread across southeastern Michigan, 74 at Metro Airport and 77 up towards Sandusky and even down into Monroe. Even with the rain down there, still in the upper 70s. And so those temperatures continue to rise. Dew points will be high. Quite a bit of instability as that cold front comes in. 1 o'clock onward, storm chances increase, but will likely be in the mid-80s for that afternoon high. So here's a look at the hour by hour where you get a few of those bubbling up around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I do think it's going to be along this front where those storms become linear. They can bow out, create some really strong winds. That's going to be closer to the dinner hour evening rush. So we're talking 5 to 8 p.m. would be more of that window as that pushes to the east. And so cold front along the surface will push that warm, humid air up above. That's going to create those ominous clouds and the instability as all of that moisture rises. And once it rises, well, guess what's going to happen? It has to come back down to the surface. So that's where you get those thunderstorms with that squall line. Otherwise, once we get past today, smooth sailing, grilling, pool days ahead as we will be in the 80s, not just through Thursday, but we will likely be in the 80s for the 4th of July, staying dry for all of the festivities, and then back in the low 90s with some storm chances by the tail end of the weekend.
What's going to be on the grill on Friday? What are you making?
Well, I don't do the grilling. My husband is the grill master. So usually it's steak, and I do the sides and things like that.
Yeah.
So like I'm, an expert, get the veggies all ready and all of that. But
good
yeah,
potato
he's a steak
salad?
guy. We could do potato salad. I like grilled potatoes. So like you cut the little ones in half and throw them on the grill.
Yeah.
I even like grilling like corn on the cob. Have you done that before?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will be there at 6.
Okay. Well, I said, what do you like to grill?
Usually just burgers.
Burgers.
Yeah.
Can't
some
go wrong with a
bacon,
good
some
burger.
Cheese on there, provolone.
Oh, sounds good.
All right, Ashley, thank you much. Let's take a live look over in Taylor right now at our latest Go For event happening right now as we speak. Ty Steele joins us with more on the fight against hunger during the summer.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Thank you for watching here on Local 4 Plus. And some of your headlines on your Monday, a live look now at the White House. The fate of President Donald Trump's sweeping domestic policy legislation is uncertain going into today's vote-a-rama in the Senate. Most Republicans are behind the bill, while Democrats are standing against it. If more than 3 of the Republicans oppose the measure, it is likely to fail. Senator Thom Tillis says he will vote no and retire at the end of his term. Senator Rand Paul says he voted no to a procedural measure because he thinks the bill would add trillions to the deficit. This is all coming as President Trump took to social media early this morning, saying he would not be offering Iran anything. The president went on to say that former President Barack Obama paid them, quote, billions of dollars. The Post also reiterated his assertion that the United States has totally obliterated Tehran's nuclear facilities. This coming after President Trump dismissed reports on Friday that said his administration had discussed possibly helping Iran access as much as $30 billion to build a civilian energy-producing nuclear program. A live look now, thanks to our friends over in Windsor. Just one day before they're due, Canada is now walking back on its digital services taxes for the U.S. The announcement comes from the Canadian capital, Ottawa, on Sunday night. The move comes after U.S. President Donald Trump announced over the weekend he will be terminating all discussions on trade with Canada in response to Ottawa's decision to impose a digital services tax on American tech firms. The tax would have applied to both domestic and foreign tech companies, including U.S. giants like Amazon, Google, and Meta, with a 3% charge. New this morning, the state is out with a warning about a deadly opioid being found more and more here in Michigan in the unregulated drug supply. This is called carfentanil. It is 10,000 times more potent than morphine and 100 times more potent than fentanyl. The Department of Health and Human Services says 11 people have died from it. Those deaths happened in Wayne, Oakland, Livingston, Genesee, Ingham, and Eaton counties. If you know someone who you know is addicted, the state is urging people to carry naloxone. A live look at the board right now. Just opened a few moments ago, 4 minutes ago, actually. We are coming off the heels of Friday's whirlwind close. The Dow jumped 432 points. The Nasdaq added 105, and the S&P 500 gained 32, marking its highest mark in more than 4 months. You can see now, again, this is normal. It just opened 5 minutes ago. Not a whole lot of change, but we'll see what happens throughout the morning here. All right, we're going to check back in with Ty Steele now, who was at our latest Go Forward event over in Southeast Michigan in Taylor. Did you know 1 in 5 do not know where their next meal is coming from, especially kids when they're not in school? That is why we are teaming up with Gleaners Community Food Bank in Taylor. Ty Steele is out there right now. Ty, I think the volunteers just started showing up, and you've got all those assembly lines working.
All the assembly lines are firing on all cylinders. Unfortunately, the need for food does not take a summer break like the kids do, and all those kids are at home, and they are wondering where their breakfast and their lunch is going to come from. 300,000 kids rely on those lunches during the school year, and these are all the volunteers. Orientation is over. This is how it all happened. So we were here last week, and walk with me as I show you how this works. This is the end of the assembly line. This is after the food has already been packed in. They're strapping those shut. All the food goes in the boxes right there. And last week, we were here, and they packed 1,300 boxes in about 2 hours, this amount of volunteers. So they are moving. They know what they're doing. This is a full-time operation. 2 shifts today, one from right now to 11:30. We've got another shift from 1:30 to 3:30. But we are full up on volunteers. All we need right now are donations. Come with me as I introduce you to 2 people I want you to meet. This is Abigail Baker. She is a volunteer with Kroger, and this is Cam Barrett. He is also with Kroger, and we're going to talk about the need here. We're going to start with you, Abigail. You are a sales manager with Kroger, but you also decided to volunteer quite often with the food banks.
Absolutely.
Why is it that you are so inspired to volunteer with the food banks?
You know, especially during summertime, there are so many students in our communities that rely on school meals, so it really falls in line with our Zero Hunger, Zero Waste to really get out here, spend some quality time, great team building, and really give back to the communities that support us every single day.
There are millions of pounds of food that are packed in distribution centers just like this in Southeast Michigan. This would not be possible without our partners like Kroger. Cam, talk about that partnership that you have with Gleaners and why it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So here in the state of Michigan, there's over 300,000 kids that are battling food insecurity. we're not going to solve that on our own. It takes partnerships like what we have here with Gleaners. It takes getting people out here, rolling up our sleeves and doing the work. So that's the thing. It's summertime here in Michigan. Kiddos are supposed to be outside, having fun, being energized on a full stomach. So we're just happy to partner with Gleaners today, Channel 4 on this great initiative, and do some good for some kiddos this summer.
We feel so blessed to be partnering with you guys, and we're really excited to announce that there is a matching going on through August. So what we're asking our viewers, if you feel inclined, every dollar that you donate will provide 6 meals for kids that are food insecure. So talk about how that was possible, Cam.
Yeah, so we're going to match that dollar for dollar today. So your dollar is going to get stretched even further to fill some more kids' stomachs. And again, it comes back to what Abigail talked about, our Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation. We love taking care of our customers in stores, but anytime we can get outside those 4 walls of our stores and give back to the communities that we live and serve across the state, that's what we're all about at Kroger.
Well said, Cam. Appreciate it. Okay, Abigail, you get the last word. How do you feel right now?
I feel invigorated. I'm ready to pack some food and really serve the communities around us.
Fantastic job. We're going to check back in with you guys in a little bit. Right now, we are at the Gleaners Community Food Bank in Taylor. Volunteers are hustling right now. They've got about 2.5 more hours on this shift. We are packing boxes like there is no tomorrow. Again, we are full up on volunteers today, but if you would like to volunteer in the future, you can do that on the website. We've got that on clickondetroit.com. But today, we need donations. Every single dollar matched provides 6 meals for kids who are food insecure in Southeast Michigan. Nick, we're going to send it back to you. We're going to check back in with everybody at Local 4 and all of our viewers throughout the area in about 3 hours.
Ty, I want to ask you, I know you've been working on a couple of stories gearing up for this Go Forward event. It seems like it's kind of a light bulb moment when people realize that so many kids get their meals from school and then don't have that opportunity when they're on summer break.
So many volunteers that I talk to, Nick, say that's exactly why they keep coming back. There's one volunteer that we actually profiled. You can find that on clickondetroit.com. His name's Tom Rose. He's been volunteering 4 days a week in his retirement for 4-hour shifts. So essentially this is his full-time job, is working here at Gleaners. And that's one of the main reasons that he keeps coming back. Not only does he love the vibe out here and the positive nature of these volunteers, but he just loves the mission, which is, of course, feeding kids that are hungry in our community. It's something that you can, it's a tangible ask that you can provide for kids in our community.
Yeah. All right, Ty, great work out there. Thank you so much. All right, when we come back here on Local 4 Live, we are covering stories with workers and skilled trades across Metro Detroit. When we come back, we'll be talking to the new president of the Electrical Workers Union, and it's a female. That's a big deal. We'll talk about labor climate, how you can get a great job, and some challenges for women in the workforce as they come up in skilled trades. Welcome back, everybody. Another live look at that breaking news over on Detroit's east side as crews are putting out that fire now at that industrial complex that is meant to work to restore and recycle oil used by Detroit automakers. The fire broke out early this morning near Jefferson and Connor. Fire crews got the call at about 5 a.m., but the issues really began at about 2:30. As you can see, that the fire finally out. Some little white smoke there, but nothing compared to what it was like just a few hours ago. One firefighter was injured, was hurt, but he or she is expected to be just fine. If there's any more injuries or any more information, we'll bring it to you here on Local 4 Live. Well, Michigan workers, as you know, have a vibrant history of trading up, many finding success in skilled trades. If you're still thinking about this and how you might think this job is a man's world, think again. This woman right here making her mark as the president of IBEW 58, Kim LaRue. Thank you so much for joining us here on Local 4 Plus as I move my podcast mic towards you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, first of all, let's just talk about the skilled trades, because for such a long time when we were growing up, we were kind of told, you got to go to college, you have to get that degree, that's the only way to succeed. That is not true, is it?
Oh, no, it's not true at all. As a matter of fact, this is one of the only careers where you could go, they're going to train you exactly on what you need to do, and you can walk away with it with a six-figure salary.
Wow, that kind of caught me off guard there.
Yeah. It's challenging, but also very rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So getting trained right on the spot, too. This isn't a classroom. Maybe it can be at times, but I mean, you're going to get some hands-on training and really learn exactly what you need to know for that job.
So the majority of the work that you do will be learning hands-on, but that doesn't mean that there is not a school component to it.
Right.
So, like I said, it is challenging yet rewarding. So you will be going to school one day every 2 weeks, and then everything else you will be expected to do on your own.
Okay.
So just like a college courses,
Yeah.
you will be expected to do the same level of homework on your own.
Yep.
But in the meantime, you're learning exactly what it takes to do that job in the real world.
And you're getting paid for it. You're getting paid to be there.
100% you're getting paid to be there.
That's incredible. Okay, I also wanted to talk to you. There's nothing wrong with it, but being a female president is so interesting because for so long we've assumed that's a man's world. What's it been like for you to kind of come up in skilled trades and be the president of the union?
So I'm always up for a good challenge, and this is no different than that.
Yeah.
Is it challenging? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I love learning. I love making things with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
I am mechanically inclined. So for women, we just didn't see ourselves doing this type of work.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that we can't do it. It's excellent, and I highly recommend it for women who are wanting to learn and get their hands dirty and build Detroit, because it's exactly what we do. We build all of the buildings that you're looking at.
That's what I ask you. It's probably pretty rewarding to physically make something and then drive down and say, I did that.
Yes, my kids are sick of it.
Speaking of cool things, I want to show a photo here because this is something that your team sent us. I don't know if you know that we have this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you were on top of a windmill, right? A wind turbine.
Yes, a wind turbine. The background is overlooking Lake Huron.
Okay, so you're 330 feet up in the air.
Yes.
What are you doing here?
So in this particular instance, I climbed all the way to the top of the tower and torque-spec'd every single mechanical bolt that the electricians put in from the top all the way down to the bottom.
How long does that take?
All day.
All day.
Yes.
I would be terrified. What is it like up there? I mean, obviously you've got safety harnesses and you're safe, but do you ever kind of get that, oh, I'm all the way up here feeling?
Yes, sometimes. But like anything else, you get used to it as long as you have the proper safety protocol.
Sure.
And you're looking out for yourself. You just have to be cognizant of your surroundings.
Yeah. Okay, so for those who might be at home and thinking, you know what, maybe skilled trades are for me. Maybe I want to get this blue-collar job and get my hands dirty and build something. What's your advice?
Absolutely. I would advise you to go on to DetroitEITC.org.
Okay.
There you're going to find a bunch of videos and programs about what exactly we offer in our apprenticeship, how that really works out, and then you can pick the different program that you want to pursue.
Well, what's interesting, too, is that there are thousands of different jobs and specialties under skilled trades. You could do almost anything, can't you?
Yes, but in the electrical industry, it is even more
diverse, isn't it? Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah. We represent broadcasting. We represent several different aspects of the trade. So, like I said, go on to that website and you can get a little more understanding of what we offer with IBEW apprenticeships.
Right. Okay. So if someone, again, is at home thinking about this, if it's the right move for them on a personal, on a financial basis, it seems like there's a lot of things in place to make it happen for them.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Kim, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks
Thank you
for having
being here.
me.
You want to stop by and see some of your members on the way out?
Yeah.
All right. Because we're always doing Trade Up Stories here on Local 4 and all of our platforms, we're going to be highlighting the people, programs, and businesses offering inspiration and training to anybody who wants to get into skilled trades. If you look at your screen right now, unless you're driving, don't do that. But there will be a QR code right now you can scan that'll take you to stories and ideas from the community. Then you can keep your eye on Local 4 and Local 4 Plus for all those stories to give you inspiration to become one of those skilled trade workers that we desperately need here in the city of Detroit. Well, Ashley's still tracking those storm chances when we come back. She's going to break down when you could see showers in the sky, when it's time to roll up the windows, and, maybe put some windshield wipers on when we come back. A live look over the area in Southfield. We'll be right back here on Local 4 Live. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. Ashley is in the Nook now, and I'm actually, I don't say this very often, I'm very pleased with your forecast.
What?
I know, because there's a storm coming, fine, we can deal with it, as long as it's not severe damage. But then we get this nice break just in time for the holiday.
I know, we're turning the corner just in time for really the whole week, because a lot of folks start traveling today, tomorrow, ahead of the holiday. And here we go, we're going to look at some beautiful conditions across the state. So yeah, but we do have to get through this afternoon. So yes, fingers crossed that we don't see these storms reach severe limits, or if they do, at least we don't see much damage out of them. But we do have a level 1 marginal risk for severe weather this afternoon and evening. Now that time frame is about 1 to 7 p.m. And so I think that the more linear part of the storm that's with the cold front will be in the later part of that time frame, but we still could see some isolated stronger storms firing off just after the lunch hour. So damaging wind gusts around 60 miles per hour and flooding with heavy downpours would be the primary threat with the storms that are on tap for today. Now, what you see on radar, this is just inconvenient stuff. So we do have some widespread rain in a good chunk of Monroe County in the southern tier, just south of Adrian into Lenawee County. And then if you look up towards Lapeer, now it's north of Lapeer, actually just west of Sandusky, where we still have a couple lightning strikes on radar. So that is a stronger storm, but the wind gusts are not to what would be considered a severe thunderstorm. So we're talking 40, 50 mile per hour gusts. You'd have to get more in that 60 mile per hour range for it to be considered severe, but it's strong nonetheless, and you will hear some rumbles of thunder with that one cell up into the thumb. So warm front is lifting. That's bringing the heat, humidity for today. And then that cold front that's attached to the low, the blue front you see on your screen, that will clash with all that heat and humidity. That brings us our better chance for stronger storms today. But if you notice, that hasn't crossed Lake Michigan yet. So it's going to take some time to build its way here. Right now, temperatures are mainly in the mid to upper 70s and upward from here as we likely get into the mid 80s this afternoon before those storms start to fire off. And we will have that chance for some severe weather. So here's an hour by hour look at what we are tracking. Likely getting a little lull briefly before we start to see a couple more of those scattered storms develop around 1:30. That will push to the northeast. And then here's that line that develops. You can see it just draping that cold front between 6 and 7 o'clock. And that'll be a little more impactful at that time frame off on the east side. So stay with your forewarned weather team. We'll be all over that. That cold front does ride along the surface. So what happens is it pushes all that warm, humid air up above. And that ends up creating that cloud cover. And within that cloud cover, those are strong updrafts, and all that moisture eventually has to work its way back down to the surface. So you get a squall line that produces some really gusty winds, and then you get those heavy downpours. But this is what Nick was talking about. From Tuesday and beyond, good grilling forecast, get out by the pool, hit the lake, because we're in that nice classic summer pattern, a very nice stretch of seasonal sunshine is what we'll have on tap. But your Friday forecast for the 4th, well, we get into the mid to upper 80s, and at least we're not tracking storm chances, and so all the parades and fireworks will be a go. Weather will not be a factor in that. Now, come this weekend, cranking up the heat and humidity. So back in the low 90s, feeling warmer with the heat index. As far as the rain chances, now we're still several days out, but right now it looks like it's going to be late Saturday and going into your Sunday. So I don't think it's a washout for your Saturday and Sunday by any means, but it does get a little more turbulent for the remainder of the weekend.
And back in the 90s.
I know.
With humidity. Great hair day.
Well, and then do you remember, we've talked about this before, we're like inching towards the corn sweat season where that brings more of the humidity. So it's not just the Great Lakes, but the corn. I like eating the corn. I don't like the corn sweat.
You like grilling the corn?
I like, well, yeah, I'm not picky. I just like corn on the cob.
All right, thanks, Ash. So much more to come here on Local 4 Live, including Live in the D. The ladies, the hosts, Kim and Taki, will join us here in the Nook in just a moment. Some more breaking news here on Local 4 Live. Just into our newsroom, the WNBA announcing it is coming back to Detroit. The Associated Press reporting the league will expand to Detroit, Cleveland, and Philadelphia over the next 5 years. They'll be coming to Detroit in 2029. Of course, this is all pending approval by the NBA Board of Governors. We're going to follow that breaking news. We'll have much more throughout the day here on Local 4 Plus and on Local 4. Guess who's here in the Nook?
Hi. I'm really excited about the WNBA coming back to Detroit. I was upset when they left.
I was too. Let's think about names. What do you got?
Well, it used to be the Shock, so maybe something that rhymes with that.
Okay, our producer says we have about a minute to talk about what's coming up on Live in the D.
So I'm really excited for Live in the D. Monday is one of my favorite days because
Music Mondays?
Yes, oh my God, I cannot wait for you to hear who we have on Music Mondays. But also we do What's the Buzz, which is, good conversation, hot topics that are trending. So get this, you looking for a new job?
No.
I know you're not. But if you were looking for a new job, what requirements would you have? Well, a new survey came out with Gen Z's requirements about what they expect in a workplace. It's bigger than salary. It's bigger than benefits. These guys, they're
Is it ping pong tables?
Yes,
Is it really?
exactly. Ping pong tables, nap rooms.
Yes.
They pet-friendly offices. Can you imagine?
Can we apply all of that to Local 4?
Exactly.
A nap pod?
I love it. I love Gen Z because they're always like pushing the envelope.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, really?
I don't know.
So we're going to
I
have.
can see like a doggy daycare over in Studio B.
That would be amazing.
You could bring Chance to work.
Oh, if I could just like run back and go get some doggy kisses and then come back, the day would be so much better. I think Gen Z is onto something.
All right. Live at the D starts in an hour and 3 minutes here on Local 4 and Local 4 Plus. Make it a great Monday, everybody.